Yes, I'll see Kian is here.
Hello, everybody.
I can't. Do you have the PowerPoint?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah. Can you just pull it up and then? Well, okay. I guess I'm supposed to be doing the introduction. So while Kian is pulling up the PowerPoint, good evening. I'm Dr. David A. Paget, Associate Professor of Geography and Director of the Geographic Information Sciences Lab at Tennessee State University. And very happy to share with you this very exciting project. Uh, I've been involved with the Africatown community through the Deep South Center for Environmental Justice since about 2016 as part of our HBCU Gulf South Equity Project. And so, of course, my student, Kiana, will introduce herself in a moment and will give you a little bit of background on what has happened in Africatown since then, especially since 2018. Um, but earlier this year, my students in my urban geography class had the opportunity to create a story map for what's called the Africatown Connections Blueway, which will be described in a few minutes. And so the class created, and then after after you get some history of Africatown, we'll do a map demonstration of the story map, and then we have our FAA licensed drone pilot here, Dr. Claire Grove, MD, and we will show what's going to be the next step, which is to add low altitude aerial drone photography to the um, story map, or we might produce a new story map. And we're very fortunate to have one of the stakeholders here, Mr. Major Joe Womack of the Chess organization, is here with us also this evening. So at some point, I might have him, say a few words. So without any further ado, we'll get a little background on Africatown from Kiana Dakwa, who will introduce herself and then show the PowerPoint.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Well, it's good evening in Eastern Time. I know everyone is in different places. I am Kiana Dakwa. I'm a senior civil engineering major at Tennessee State University, and I have been working on this Blue Waste Africatown project under Dr. Paget in our honors geography class. And I have had the honor of learning about Africatown and its history and, just ways that we will be able to expand on the place and do have profit the citizens of the community of Africatown. So I will begin the presentation now. Okay, so this is our Blue Waste Africatown presentation. These are the names of everyone who participated and brought in their information and their expertise to the project. So Africatown is a historical site located in Mobile, Alabama. This is the location where the last slave ship arrived illegally. And the purpose of our project was to create a story map for the locals and to appeal to the tourists to bring in revenue for the community of Africatown. So we use ArcGIS to create a story map with pictures of the area. The conclusion of the map there are three significant sites that conclude the map, including Clotilda's Landing. That's where the slave ship arrived. William Brooks Park, a walking trail with various scenery, and Off the Hook Marina and Grill, a now family-owned restaurant. So these are just some of the articles that we reference in doing our research. It includes The Africatown USA by Sonny Callahan and several other articles by historians and other professionals. So a little bit about Africatown and its background. The Blue Waste Project dates back to the 1860s, a time of slavery. And, you know, it was, of course, everyone knows about slavery and how it was illegal to bring slaves or bring African Americans to the United States for free labor. This story is known as America's Greatest Sin due to the fact that this was the last known slave ship to successfully sail back to the United States. And we know this by the rediscovery of the culture and the people that lived there, and even the rediscovery of the Clotilda boat that landed in near Mobile, Alabama. So since the descendants of the African towns still live there, they saw a need for this history to be preserved and presented on a physical map and like appreciated just as any other um, place would be, or any other, sorry. But this was a community that survived the Middle Passage, bought land, and established a town, so their story deserved to be known by the nation. This is just a little bit more background. A couple of locations that are also in Africatown. The Mobile Training School, it was a training school that was made by the surviving Africans that retreated to Africatown, and they also have churches and places that they reside in and that they have grown to love and to live in.
Kiana, since we have Mr. Womack right here, why don't we have him chime in at this point with a little bit more background about the Africatown Connections Blue Way, since he's here.
Sure.
Major Womack?
Yeah, the Africatown Connections Blue Way itself is a 10-mile stretch between the Africatown community and a place just north of us, owned by another small city called Pritchard, called the Africatown State Park. And we have about 14 sites on the river that were identified as sort of sites to know, sites to remember, sites that are important. And the main thing is it's along the river. If you're in a canoe or a paddleboard or a small boat or something, you can go from one site to the next on the water, all around the Africatown community, on up to Africatown State Park. And what we wanted to do was identify those places. So we have walking trails throughout the land. We wanted a blue way which connects, which is part of what the National Park Service does, and we wanted to be a part of that. And so this project ties right into what we're looking for the entire community.
Okay, thank you. Hey, go on, Kiana.
Thank you, Mr. Womack. Okay, so this is getting into how we actually created the Blue Way story map. This is just a little bit of the methodology. It's basically here for any colleges or any people who would also like to incorporate a story map for their location or for any landmarks that they see fit. So I'm not going to get too deep into it because it's better with images, but the basic steps would be to log into ArcGIS and or to make a public account if you don't have one. You will follow this link and you will be brought to the Environmental Systems Research Institute, the classic ArcGIS story map site. And once you scroll down, you will find this link called the story map tour, and you will click build. If you're already registered for ArcGIS Online, then you may choose to upload your pictures from your hard drive. But if not, you may choose to upload your images using Flickr. And that just tells you a little bit about how to upload it from Flickr. And you just follow the instructions to finish uploading your images. So after you finish uploading all of your images, and then you would type the name of the location, a caption of the location, and the latitude and longitude of what you're trying to present. Then when you're finished, you would just save it and then set the share setting to the public. So this is just a little bit more about Africatown and some of the information that we use to create our story map. So Africatown is also known as Africatown, USA in Plateau. It is a historical community located 3 miles north of downtown Mobile, Alabama. and it was formed by 32 West Africans who in 1860 were included in the last slave ship. Don't mean to be repetitive. I know that I said that earlier, but um, these people were brought to Alabama, and once slaves were free, they were set to come to Africatown to build their own community and to grow from there. So more than 30 of these people were believed to be of Yoruba, Iwi, and Fon. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but they were of descendants of those places. They founded and created their own community, churches, schools, and they retained their West African customs and language into the 1950s, where their children and elders also learned English.
Yeah, let me just interject just 1 second, just for reference for those of you, a lot of probably people who are interested in geography, but this story of the Clotilda is a front page story in the National Geographic magazine, February 2020. So there's been a lot of attention paid to this case study. You can continue.
Okay, thank you. So this is just a little bit of Africatown's demographics. I believe this is 2019, the most recent. But by the beginning of the 21st century, about 2,000 people lived in Africatown. I'm sorry, probably not 2019, 21st century, but about 61% were of African descent and 38.9% were white. So the population density of Africatown is approximately 1,000 people per square mile. Currently, 48% of the residents rent and 25% of the residents own their homes. The temperatures of Africatown can vary widely through the year, and it can get extremely hot, especially since it's just deep down south, and it can get all the way to the lows of 39 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's also very susceptible to hurricane weather. But the majority of the residents have a high school diploma, accounting for 34% of the residents, and their average income is slightly over $17,000 annually. And they only have a crime rate of, I believe that's an error, but 1.21%. Okay, so this is where we start the map presentation.
Yes, so thank you, Kiana. It's Kiana. That's an inside joke. But so now we're going to shift to another one of our students, Miss Gabby Mabied, and you have the link to the map?
Yes, I am pulling it up now.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is do a map demonstration, and I'm going to now Gabby worked on the original Africatown asset map, and then she was recruited away by another lab, but now she's back. So she wasn't actually in the class, and the class that created the story map did it in 12 days. I mean, they were students who didn't know any. Well, I had two students who had a little bit of GIS experience that I know of. I don't think any of them had ever heard of Africatown. And so this story map was just one of the assignments within the class. So this wasn't the class. This was just an assignment that they did as a group. So I was, commended that they were actually able to get it done. I had no doubt that it was going to happen. And also and I guess we'll have our drone pilot here, Dr. Grove, attest that we were actually able to work with Major Womack and Liz Smith-Inser in devising a flight plan using this story map. So it is kind of in rough form, but it helped us at least to navigate the next step. So Gabby, are you ready to go?
Yes, let me share my screen.
Yeah, and don't worry, I'll walk you through it. I'll tell you exactly where to navigate, and then.
I do not see where it would. There it is. Never mind. I'm sorry. Okay.
And so once the
Oh, hold on.
map is up,
I have to allow Zoom to open this screen. I'm so sorry. A
okay.
little bit technical.
Yeah. Where are you trying to pull the link? Can the links
Okay.
in the chat? Were you able to click? Okay, here we go.
There we go. No, it wouldn't allow me to share it on Google Chrome for some reason.
Okay, so here's a story map. Oh, Gabby, just introduce yourself very quickly.
Hi,
And then,
everybody. My name is Gabriela Mavayed. I am a senior biology major at Tennessee State University from Atlanta, Georgia.
okay, so thank you. So Gabby's going to be our pilot, and what we're going to do is, well, we'll see how this works out. So Gabby, do you see that point symbol at 12? Could you just fly over that?
The 12, not down here. Oh,
Well, yeah. And so actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm a bad pilot. Go to the 14. 14. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's where we want to start. Okay, so if you notice, if you're looking at the story map, students built this using photographs of the various sites and just basically the knowledge that they were able to glean by talking to Major Womack and Liz Smith-Inser. Um, uh, this project is actually a project um, that has been undertaken by the National Park Service. And so Liz Smith-Inser from the National Park Service Cultural Division is part of the team that's building this story map. And what happened was in April, I was in a meeting with the National Park Service team and other stakeholders, and they said, well, we really wish we had a map, an interactive map of this Africatown Connections Blueway. And I said, I thought you all had a map. They said, no, they just had a PDF, but they didn't have anything that's interactive like this. And I said, I'm going to have my TSU students, I'm going to put my TSU students where we think, work, and serve on this, and they'll get it done. And they did. So this is the final product. So yeah. So if you zoom in a little bit, Gabby, zoom in just on
the picture on the, okay.
Yeah, just the whole, okay.
Okay, I can.
And so you can see, and I'm going to ask, since we have Major Womack here, when we were in the field, and this is just, on maps that we saw, every map that I looked at says Chickasaw Creek. When we were out with, I was out with Dr. Grove flying the drone, and I said Chickasaw Creek. More than once, people looked at me like, where's Chickasaw Creek? It's Chickasaw Bold Creek. Is it Chickasaw Creek? Is it Chickasaw Bold Creek? Or is it Chickasaw someplace?
Well, I know it's Chickasaw Park. I always thought it was Chickasaw Creek. Everybody I know call it Chickasaw Creek. I think most people that maybe refer to as Chickasaw Bowl Creek is north of Pritchard. Did you hear anybody from Pritchard say Chickasaw Bowl? Or what did they say?
I got corrected a couple of times.
Yeah, I was there. It definitely corrected.
I mean, corrected hard.
So that's probably with the group from Pritchard then.
Oh, okay.
But when I look on the maps and everything, I always say Chickasaw Creek.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, that's just we have some geographers here. Just that's one of those place name issues that we'll straighten out sooner or later. So what I'm going to try to do now is I'm trying to bring Dr. Grove in, but so Gabby, I want you to kind of zoom in right on that 14. Just center it. Yeah, see. Okay, and then so that is so when we got there, this was an interesting problem because a lot of the names that were given to us were kind of generalized, but we could use the descriptions to get to where luckily we had Major Womack and Liz out there. So where that 14 is not actually the site. So Gabby, if you could move to the west along Highway 158 until I tell you to stop. It just keep going, keep going, keep going, right there. Okay, right there. So see that? Okay, you see where the creek is right there in the middle of the picture, not there, just to the east, right there, right there. Can you just zoom in on there at that point right there?
Right over
Okay, so
here.
yeah, you keep zooming in a little bit more. So that is the actual site that is to be developed. And so I don't know if anybody here has ever been to historic Williamsburg, Virginia. That's a possible, not obviously not the same, but that's a possible vision for this whole area. We're not even scratching the surface in this 1 hour period of this history that's in Africa Town. We're not even scratching the surface. We could literally have a Williamsburg, Virginia like place here, given enough investment. And of course, it's important that the individuals, obviously the descendants and stakeholders in the community, are able to benefit the most from this development, which will be a mix of recreation and heritage tourism. So you're going to these sites and you're kayaking and being physically active at the same time, learning about the history of Africatown. And I learned recently from a gentleman that lives in Richmond, Virginia, who's a friend of mine, that at one time, Williamsburg, Virginia, or historic Williamsburg, Virginia, was second only to Disney World in terms of annual visitors. So that's what this could be. And equally, like when Dr. Grove and I were there are people who just show up in Africatown. There are people, they just drove up and we're looking around. And but soon there, I think I'll ask Major Womack later on to tell us about I think the museum that's being built. But for right now, so now we're going to try to do. So you see this site. Now this site could be a launch site for kayaking, or Dr. Grove is also an expert paddleboarder, among other things. And so you could paddleboard, kayak, or whatever from this area. And so notice if Gabby, zoom in as far as you can go. Keep going, keep zooming in. And so you'll notice things start to kind of pixelate and look fuzzy, and you really only have one view here. But so Gabby, if you stop sharing your screen, please.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share my screen. Well, hopefully this will work. And so, where am I supposed to be here? Okay, so what you're looking at now are the some of the drone images captured by Dr. Grove, who is an FAA license. So she's not just out here flying a drone around for fun. She's an FAA licensed drone pilot. That's the Federal Aviation Authority, Dr. Grove. And I think Dr. Grove will tell you that only about 90% or so of licensed drone pilots are men. And so Dr. Grove, being an African-American woman who happens to be a licensed drone pilot, and we're getting into unicorn territory here. So, but you can see how much sharper these images are. And I'll let Dr. Grove weigh in on some of the technical aspects of drone flying, and I'll just flash through some of the images of that same site.
So yeah, FAA certification is actually required for any drone pilot who plans to use it for any commercial work, or well, mainly for commercial work. And it's knowing maps, it's knowing air zones or protected airspace, it's knowing all the rules of flying drones. It's also, and this was a particular kind of fun but hairy spot for us, Dr. Paget, right? We were on the highway. So you saw the map that showed the highway coming across. So we wanted to get images on both sides of the highway. So I actually had to stand we're on the highway, and you always need it. So we're right down there. You always need a visual observer. So I was actually serving as the observer too, looking up in the sky, making sure that I don't have any obstructions. With this one, we didn't have power lines, but in some areas we had power lines. I'm looking fortunately, I use a drone by DJI, which are the most common drones out there, and they give notifications for airplanes that are coming by. I think we had one notification there. But yeah, I just serially cover. I usually go to an altitude. The altitude that we're restricted to is 400 feet. So I fly like right under 400 feet, and then try to get in closer. And that area, I think, is really neat because we saw the connections on both sides of the highway. And the waterways. And this was Liz was with us from the National Park Service that day, and she wanted to see not only one side of the highway but the other side. And you just get a lot of good visual on how accessible it is, where entry points could be. That was one of my favorite shots that we obtained.
Yes. So let's see. I'm going to stop my. This is just one of the images, and I'm going to stop my share now, and I'm going to let Gabby take over again with her with the map. And before we go on, I didn't give Dr. Grove a chance to introduce herself and give any of her background information.
I'm an MD. I'm a medical doctor, which has nothing to do with my drone work. I just have wear multiple hats. But yeah, I've been originally clinically trained and board certified OBGYN, and practiced clinically for many years. Now I work remotely in healthcare consulting. And so I often do that from different areas of the world. So I'm actually currently in split Croatia right now, on the water. So the drone work has been great. I've been flying since 2018. I've had some great opportunities. I've flown, and for me, this is a really heartfelt project to take on, because when I initially started flying drones, the first place I flew outside of the country was in Cape Coast, Ghana, where many of the ships left. And I was at the door of no return and flew there. And so being able to then be part of this project where the final ship arrived from Benin was, I felt like it was definitely a grateful journey to be on. Dr. Paget?
Like he's frozen now.
Frozen?
Yeah.
I could keep talking, I guess. Oh, we lost him for a second.
Oh, I'm back.
Ah, there you are.
Comcast.
I just finished. And then we noticed you're frozen.
Yeah. I know I paid the bill this month. But okay, so Gabby, zoom out. And let's see, we want to go down to, well, let me see, I can't see. Find the if you probably have to look down in the panel. Yeah, find the I think it's number 3. It's probably the no, it's the Africatown Baptism Landmark. Yeah, click there. Now this point is in the right place, but like I said, my students were scrambling to get pictures, and they there's a Landmark Baptist Church, and I guess in the scramble to get the project done, they wound up getting this picture. But we have not only pictures of this location, but also we have drone photos. So this is going to be a really neat site. Now, this Africatown Baptism Landmark essentially represents all the places along the river where these ceremonies took place. Now, I'm not versed on the history, but I can only assume from my earlier reading that the Africatown people population had some blend of their traditional religious faith and, of course, Christianity in these ceremonies along. So with this, yeah, Gabby, kind of drag the screen down a little bit, or the map down. No, the other way, the other way. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's why we never use up and down in geography. Okay, so you can see that patch of green there. No, you're right there. Just drag it up a little bit. Yeah, Gabby, just no, up the other, up, yeah.
There we go.
Okay, right there. So that patch is going to eventually be have a lot of historical markers and information, and there's going to be a buffer between the active railroad.
This one right here.
Yeah, Dr. Grove and I had some fun on that track, though, trying to get down to the water. But so now I'm going to try to find the images that are associated with that particular, oh yeah, I found site. So yeah, Gabby, stop share, please, and I'm going to share, and then let's see, do this dance. So, oh man, no. At least that is not where that is. I'm sorry. Let me.
Oh, Dr. Grove, in the meantime, I see a question for you in the Q&A section.
Oh yeah, good save, Gabby.
Are you a self-taught drone pilot, or did you take special training?
As far as the flying, I'm self-taught, and I did take a course. Oh gosh, I can't even remember the name of it now. But I took a course as far as reading the maps and learning all the airspace and preparing for the actual exam. I took a course, but as far as the flying itself, it was a lot of. I felt like it was a lot of no, I shouldn't say trial and error, but it was a lot of just trial and launching it on my own, and a lot of it is just being bold enough to fly it and not be too afraid to crash it. I have had a few crashes. One was just a technical problem. We didn't have any in Africatown, but yeah, I was self-taught.
Yeah, and so that self-teaching had great results. So here are the same images of the site that is to become the Africatown Baptism Landmark. And you can see the potential for walking trails. And I can't, I don't have, I guess you really can't get an appreciation for distance here, but that was a pretty good distance from, I can't really say, we're not even to the entry point. So it is possible. I think, what do you say, Dr. Grove? That was at least a quarter mile.
Yes.
From where we, at least. And as you can see, we didn't have to outrun a train the first day. We went back and there was a train there. But you can see that this area has to, and there's a balance between the industrial facilities, and you can see this very industrialized area. It has to kind of be balanced with these historical sites. But we've seen this before. In fact, I just saw a story about in Overtown in Miami and how they are trying to use some historical sites to balance some of the history. Anyway. I wanted to Major Womack just to discuss another element of what's happening in Africatown, and that is the overwhelming industrialization that is going to, that we'll have to buffer against when we develop this blueway?
Yeah, we're fortunate in that, like Dr. Padgett mentioned that there are other national parks that have been established for communities, and they deal with what actually is happening, industrial stuff. Um, the last shipment came over in 1860, and then in 1960, 100 years later, residents voted become part of the city of Mobile, and Mobile basically took advantage of them, so they began rezoning a lot of stuff. So we got industries all around us, and for sort of fortunate in this area here where you see here, you got a lot of the state docks, which is part of the industry, and not a lot of that stuff is real hazardous. But we have a process that we're going through right now where we have established a brownfields. We hope to establish some super sites so that the government and other agencies can get in here and examine the soil, examine the water, and then tell us, if anything is hazardous. And if it is, then whoever committed that hazardous thing has to clean it up. And so we're going through that process, and there's a process that we have to go through. Right now, if you go through there, go through the community and then start fishing and crabbing and stuff I grew up doing, you won't see a sign that says anything is hazardous. And we're down the stream from chemical plants, and International Paper and Scott sat there for years. And so, basically they're saying, hey, if you don't see a sign that says it's dirty, it's not dirty. So that's the mentality we had when we started this thing. Hey, if you don't have a sign that says keep out, we're going to go ahead and do what we want to do, and we want to move back to the water. You say this community, the city says that they want to establish tourism around the water. We have a water all around us. We also have industry, and so we want the industry to meet their standards, to clean it up. If something's dirty, clean it up, and if you violating too much, we want you out of there. And so that's the long range plan that we've adopted, and the National Park Service has parks that are in areas where there's industries around. So it's not something new that we're creating. So we've won some competition designs for design competitions, and we got some award from the National Park Service for some of our designs. And that's a beautiful area right there, Hog Bayou. That a lot of our older residents had never seen it, and it's right across the street from them. And so it's a good undertaking, and we got the Park Service behind us, and people in institutions like Dr. Grove and Dr. Padgett, and things that they're doing to help us, and so it's a process though. We just have to go through it, and it's going to be sort of time consuming, but we're willing to go through that process.
Yeah, and thank you, Major Womack. And so the next steps will be and then we'll go to the questions, the Q&A. The next step, we have Gabby, who of course maybe in about 12 years will be the next Dr. Grove, hopefully, I guess.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, but yeah, she's pre-med. Yeah, so what her job will be for the rest of the summer will be adding these drone photos, and we also got some surface level photos to either this map, or we might create a new story map. I think we're going to do the classic version the first time, and then we might do the newer story map version so that we can add maybe oral history videos and so on and so forth. So we have a couple of questions in the chat. We have Kendrick Faison here, who was another one of the main reasons that we even have this event occurring. So Kendrick asks, have you thought about creating 3D markups of this area? I think it would be great to show this in your story maps. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, we like I said, we just got the aerial photo. I guess this is a Dr. P question. Yeah, we just got the aerial photos, and perhaps next steps will we'll probably have to do something like that, because there's an architectural design, a huge architectural design competition for Africatown that is being conducted literally right now. And they need these these drone photos in order to give those who would design the welcome center or design whatever they're going to design at these various points, boat launches. They need to have really detailed photos on the ground, and of course, terrain. 3D terrain imagery would also help in developing whatever it is that will eventually become this well-visited cultural tourism site. So thank you, Kendrick, for being here. And then we have Dr. Reginald Archer, who is my colleague at Tennessee State University. And I guess this is another Dr. P question. Is where did the addresses or coordinates of the points come from? How did some end up in the wrong location? This was a collective effort. This was a citizen science, community-based mapping effort. We could not have done any of this without, Major Womack and Chess and people on the ground bring forth the history and the generalized locations of some of these sites that eventually became or will become the Africatown Connections Blueway. And it happens, but fortunately, we as a team, there's no I in team, we were able to get to the correct locations and get 14 of the points of interest located. One was too big to justify. It was what will eventually be the Africatown USA State Park, which is Major Womack. Is it 120? Was it? I can't remember how many acres it is. It's a big piece of land. Yeah. And it also has very little access. So yeah, we actually, I took a GPS receiver out when we were out getting the drone photos. So now we have lat long coordinates, even though the story map itself generated lat long, of course, as some of you all know. But I corrected it in the field with the GPS receiver, and so probably I'll build an additional map alongside the story map for just that reason. So if you all can please ask more questions, try to ask my students some questions, especially.
Can I add a little bit to what you're saying on that?
Oh, yes, certainly.
Africatown is one of 5 underserved communities along the Gulf Coast, 5 states there that's part of the Deep South Center for Environmental Justice. Dr. Beverly Wright and Dr. Robert Bullard, and of course, Dr. Padgett is one of the advisors with the Deep South Center, and he had all of us, the communities. One of the projects he had us do was to identify and get a GPS readout of the location of things within the community, and out of that project that he started, we sort of taught some people within the community, and we in that one weekend we had folks over from the Navy out of Pensacola that volunteered, and we went around and we got the GPS location and pictures and some pictures of 35 sites. So now we have tourism sites getting ready for the tourists to come in, and we've got tourism, a booklet that we're preparing based on what Dr. Padgett had us do. And also we have this project with the Blueway that's going to be another booklet for tourists to come in and purchase and tour, and so the community can make money off the tourists when they purchase these items, and he had us identify the industry that surrounds us. We have about 18-20 industries that are quote polluting, and we're gonna do the same thing with them, identify them and locate them on the map and get some books and some other things we planned on doing. And when I first saw one of these pictures from the area photo that they took, I said we got to develop some calendars too. Get some calendars and sell those calendars so the community can make some money. So all this came out of that project that Dr. Paget had us start a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and that was actually, like I said, Gabby was main principal cartographer on that project also. So we do have a Major Womack question in the Q&A from Latoya Gray. This is a wonderful project. I love that community members have been involved with this project. Are you receiving support from local and state elected officials? And she says, I really believe this could be and should be the next Williamsburg. That's for Major Womack.
Is her hometown near Mobile? She must know some of the things, some of the ins and outs about politicians. One of the big things that are slowing us down has been local political response. That's really has slowed us down. We could be a lot further ahead than what we are right now, but we're having to drag the politicians along with us. Fortunately, we do have one good county commissioner that's on board with us, and she's a beautiful person, and so we have her to thank for this museum that Dr. Paget mentioned that's going up sometime this fall, and some other things that she's doing to help renovate the community. But no, we're not getting the political report that we should be getting. We could be a lot further along because when you're working with the city government, you can get more money that way. Joe Womack nonprofit applied for some money. It won't get it as fast as Joe Womack nonprofit plus the city signing for some grants. And so they've been very slow, and there's been a reason for that. And 10 years ago, they had a plan for us, for the community that basically was consisted of eliminating the community. And so we had to fight through all that stuff. We had to fight through a lot of stuff over the last 10 years. And we're just getting to where I say it's the front door where we should have been 10 years ago. And so sometimes you have to change minds around. You have to be consistent and persistent to sort of even make people know what and do what they know that they should be doing. And this is Alabama. A lot of things you heard about Alabama are true. Well, in fact, most of them are true. So we fight through a lot of stuff.
Well, thank you, Major Womack. So I have a question for Kiana since she's here. Kiana really was, she took the lead. I know that I just wanted to so in terms of organizing the class, I know that it was probably a shock to the system, but yeah, Kiana really was a leader and pushed the class to the finish line. So could you describe the experience of like learning GIS and just organizing the rest of your classmates to make this a successful project?
Oh, I will be happy to talk about that. Well, first of all, I feel like 3 weeks is not enough time to do anything, but we did it. So, yeah, that's one thing I would say about me. Usually when there's a group project or there's something going on that I'm involved in, I tend to just kind of graze to a leadership position because whenever I present something, I would like for it to be, as much as I can and as perfect as possible. Of course, nothing is perfect, but I just feel like I wanted everyone to work together. So it was definitely difficult given that we were in class for 4 hours a day and people were working and I think someone else actually was taking another class. I don't know. It was a lot of stuff going on. Everyone was in a different city, different time zones. So it definitely came down to scheduling. We met on Google Meets at least once or twice a week and maybe more even leading up to the presentation. We definitely split every aspect of the project up into groups. I was mainly the person that worked on the actual story map. When getting this information, it's really difficult to work with a lot of people and to kind of avoid plagiarism and to avoid, just not copy and paste because people are tempted to do that in such a short amount of time.
But not at TSU. We don't plagiarize at TSU.
No,
No plagiarism at TSU.
no, never. What even is plagiarism?
Exactly.
But yeah, it was definitely a challenge. And as far as getting to know ArcGIS and making the map, I had never seen ArcGIS before I met Dr. Paget. But I believe like the first week we definitely just kind of hopped right in, and he showed us, introduced it to us, and gave us some very detailed instructions. So the instructions that he provided for us were very helpful, and very helpful in us making the methodology for other people to look at our story map and to make one for their own. It's actually very, very much a coincidence that as soon as I was introduced to ArcGIS from Dr. Paget's class and from this Blue Waves project, I was automatically introduced to it again. Keep in mind, being never heard of ArcGIS ever in my life before 2021. I was introduced to it again in my internship in transportation operations in MDOT, and we actually use it for much more than I would have expected, like mapping traffic lanes. But anyways, that's beside the point. I just think that it's coincidental, but it was definitely a challenge getting everyone together to make this project, and I'm happy to have been a part of it. So
yeah, well, thank you for being here. Yeah, she definitely took the bull by the horns. And in the room, I guess he's still here, is my colleague, Dr. Reginald Archer, who is an engineer. We actually, for a few years, did the GIS workshops for the National Society of Black Engineers conferences. And I guess we still would have been doing them. I think it was supposed to be in Miami last year. Not the NSBE meeting, but the professional development part of the NSBE organization, National Society of Black Engineers. And then Dr. Archer moved even further and actually established a relationship between NSBE and ESRI, because I noticed that there wasn't one. I couldn't believe it. Here we have 10,000 Black engineers and no presence of ESRI anywhere. But Dr. Archer and I worked together, and ESRI was, once they saw the need to have engineers connected to GIS, especially civil, architectural, and environmental, every year they supported us with booklets and software, whatever we needed. And we would see students come back year after year to our workshops. And now some of them, as you found out, Kiana, I was calling her Deanna for
3 whole weeks.
3 whole weeks. So I don't know. But yeah. Any major, any person of any background, especially our HBCU students. And I mean, when I gave this assignment, I knew that these students were going to do it, or they were all going to fail. No, I'm just kidding. One thing about being an educator, especially at an HBCU, is you have to believe in your students, even if they don't believe in themselves. I mean, that's what it's all about. You just say, you can do this and you will do this. And they did. And mind you, this was during the pandemic. I mean, they were all virtual. They weren't all sitting in the classroom. What's this shameless plug? They were all sitting in the classroom. You might want to check this out, Kiana. I think Dr. Archer put something in the chat. But okay. Oh, I'm sharing the screen, so I guess you can all see it. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait a minute. 2021. Okay, I'll talk to Dr. Archer about that later. But yeah, I mean, I had full confidence in them that they did it, and I guess Dr. Grove can attest and that you actually really did help her to develop the flight plan. Wouldn't you say that, Dr. Grove? That
Absolutely, it was a great help in formulating a flight plan and finding all the locations for the images. It was great.
Yeah, so it wasn't just, I one of the complaints that not the students ever complain, but especially during this pandemic period, was apparently they said they were getting a lot of busy work. And coming from the faculty side, I get that, because some faculty at a certain university in Nashville, some of them never even used the smart classroom console, and they had to go from that to virtual format in a week. Our president, Dr. Glover, told the students to go home, I think it was March 16th, and they were out of there, and then so for them to be able to work as a team virtually, like Kiana said, working and family stuff and siblings running around and who knows what's going on at home, and still be able to get this done is just commendable. So if anyone out here, Kendrick, is looking to hire some students someday, you just come to TSU. He's already asked me about that all the time. So I don't know if there's any more questions in the chat, and I think it's 3 a.m. where Dr. Grove is. So she's a trooper. So I was surprised. I thought, she's not going to be here, but see, these medical doctors have to be on call at all times, right? Since
Exactly.
never off.
Many years of being up through the night. Yeah.
So hear that, Gabby? That's what you got to look forward to. No sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody, Major Womack, for being here. This is just the beginning of this project. And wait a minute, there might be a question in the chat. Oh, from Trevor, does Tennessee State University offer GIS courses? Oh, yes, we do. I've been at TSU for 20 years. At first, not really, but Dr. Archer and I are part of the faculty. We have maybe 7 or 8 GIS users at Tennessee State University. And if anybody can find it really quick, I think Black Girls Map created a map of all the HBCUs that have GIS programs and courses. If somebody can just pop that into the chat real quick. It's a really nice resource of, so not only does TSU have GIS courses, there are a number of HBCUs, Southern University, North Carolina A&T, FAMU, of course, a lot of that, and that's a big change from 20 years ago when we could literally count on our hands the number of HBCUs that were doing GIS, and now it's not unusual at all. So yeah, if you just look, I think it's probably on the, well, just go to Black Girls Map. And I think it's black. It's either 2 G's or it's 2 P's. Black Girls Map. It's 2 P's. I think somebody might have tossed that up. Oh, another question. Oh, this is a Dr. Grove question. What drone equipment are you using to capture latitude and longitude?
I'm using a series of the DJI drones. So just the actual drones, is that the question?
Yeah, just I guess what drone,
yeah.
I guess what drone
So
you're using.
DJI, they make the majority of the drones from the small recreational ones. I can't remember the name of that, to the Mavic. The Mavic 2 Pro is probably the most common. We use that. And then under Dr. Paget's other programs, we also have the Inspire 2, which is like the big daddy drone, but a larger drone, but they all capture like besides the Mavic Air, which is a smaller one, they all capture the same imaging. So, but with the Inspire, you can attach other cameras, infrared camera, and other things. So mainly the Mavic 2 Pro. And so it's often it's a drone that's used recreationally, but it's also used professionally.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Grove. And I think that's it. So we are right at 1 hour. Wait a minute, somebody else is chiming in. Okay, just Dr. Archer. Lots of good stuff in the chat. And so I'll keep it open for a little while after we leave, or after you all leave. So thanks students, Kiana and Gabby, and thank you, Dr. Grove and Major Womack, and everyone else for attending. And of course, Of course, Kendrick and Clinton for leading the charge this year. And thank you very much. This has been great, and it's just getting started.
Thank you, Dr. Paget.
Thank
Well,
you
thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you all. And I'll leave it open for those of you who want to grab some stuff out of the chat.
Okay. See you guys later.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Major Womack. Thank you. And I guess people are out. So, all right, Clinton. Thanks a lot.
Great work, Dr. Paget and team. Thanks for having us.
That's Simone.
Thanks.
Yes,
Thanks,
that's Simone. Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Yeah, you're Dr. Paget.
oh,
Thanks for coming.
good job, y'all. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you. All right. Oh.